Today, it's robots.
Robots and their history.
A history that goes way back further than most people think.
Exactly. So we're using this article from Live Science as our guide. It's called 12 Pivotal Moments in the History of Robotics, from Isaac Asimov to Self-Driving Cars.
Catchy title.
I'm fascinated by how robotics has evolved over time, but the article makes it clear that the idea of creating artificial humans is, like, ancient.
Oh, yeah. Humans have been dreaming of this stuff for a long time, long before the word robot even existed.
Right. Like, the article starts by talking about the golem,
The golem from Jewish folklore.
which was molded from clay and brought to life.
And how about the mechanical servants of Hephaestus,
In Greek mythology.
the Greek god of fire and metalwork?
So it's clear that humans have been fascinated by the idea of creating artificial life.
Oh, absolutely. These ancient myths and legends reveal a deep-seated desire to not just create tools,
Right.
but to create beings that could potentially think.
Act, and maybe even surpass us.
I mean, if you think about it, it's a pretty natural progression.
It is.
You know, we start by making tools to help us with physical tasks.
And then we start to wonder,
Yeah.
can we make tools that can think for themselves?
And the idea of robots takes hold.
And that fascination with creating artificial beings continues to evolve through history.
Totally. So then, fast forward to the 18th and 19th centuries.
We see those elaborate automata,
Like those incredible mechanical birds that could, like, sing or write.
marvels of engineering for their time, really pushing the boundaries of what machines could do.
I know. They're so intricate and detailed, it's mind-boggling.
Considering the technology available at the time,
Exactly.
those automata were like a glimpse into the future.
Absolutely. But they weren't really robots as we think of them today.
Not in the modern sense, no.
For that, we need to jump to the early 20th century,
1921, to be precise,
when Karel Capek,
introduced the word robot to the world.
in his play RUR,
Rossum's Universal Robots.
that's where it all began.
It is.
And it's kind of funny that the word robot actually comes from the Czech word for forced labor.
Which is kind of fitting, right?
Yeah, because the play is about these artificial workers.
Rebelling against their human creator.
It's like the granddaddy of all those robot uprising movies.
It's true. RUR was way ahead of its time.
So even back then, people were worried about machines taking over.
Absolutely. And that anxiety hasn't gone away.
Nope, not at all.
In fact, it's probably even stronger today with AI becoming so advanced.
True, true.
But RUR did more than just stoke fears
It also started a really important conversation.
about the potential consequences of creating artificial beings that could,
Challenge the established order.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this play that introduces the word robot.
And raises all these ethical questions.
But what about the rules?
The rules.
The rules for robots. We can't talk about robotics without mentioning Isaac Asimov and his famous 3 laws.
Ah, yes, Asimov's 3 laws of robotics.
Introduced in his 1942 short story, Runaround.
The classic.
A total classic. And his laws have had a huge impact on how we think about robots and ethics.
Even though they were, fictional.
Totally. But they're so simple yet so powerful.
The first law states that a robot may not injure a human being.
Or through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm.
Right. The second law.
A robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings.
Except where such orders would conflict with the first law, of course.
Of course. And the third law,
A robot must protect its own existence.
as long as such protection doesn't conflict with the first or second law.
It's a framework designed to protect humanity.
And it's remarkable how Asimov anticipated the need for guidelines like this as robots became more advanced.
He had incredible foresight.
Seriously.
His laws are still relevant today.
They are.
They've influenced scientists,
Engineers,
policymakers, even ethicists.
all grappling with the challenges of AI in our world.
It's amazing how influential science fiction can be.
Totally. So we've got these foundational concepts and fears about robots.
Right.
But what about the actual machines?
Ah, yes. Let's move from fiction to reality,
The article takes us to the mid-20th century.
where robots started making their way
The realm of imagination.
to the factory floor.
And it all began with George Devall's invention,
The Unimate Robotic Arm.
which was put to work at a General Motors plant in New Jersey in 1961.
The birth of the industrial robot.
A true game changer.
Absolutely. This was revolutionary,
Imagine a hydraulic-powered arm with 5 degrees of freedom,
meaning it could move in more ways than any previous machine.
so it could handle a wider range of tasks.
And it was taught by physically moving it through the desired actions
Then those actions would be stored.
on a magnetic drum memory.
Cutting-edge stuff for the time.
It was.
It's mind-blowing to think that this was already happening back in the 60s.
It really was the start of something big.
The automation revolution we see today.
Exactly. And even though the Unimate was limited,
It was, compared to today's robots.
it proved a point.
That robots could handle those repetitive and potentially dangerous tasks.
More precisely.
And faster.
Than humans.
Which led to a huge boost in manufacturing efficiency.
And freed up human workers for more complex roles.
And that was just the beginning.
The beginning of robots in the workplace.
But robots weren't just transforming factories.
They were also reaching for the stars.
Literally. In 1970, the Soviet Union launched Lunokhod 1.
The first robotic rover to explore the moon.
A bathtub-shaped rover with 8 wheels.
Remotely controlled from Earth.
Using antennas and cameras.
It spent almost a year on the moon.
Traveling over 6 miles.
And conducting hundreds of soil tests.
Demonstrating the potential of robots to explore places too dangerous for humans.
A remarkable achievement.
It's incredible to think we were sending robots to the moon in the 70s.
It really shows how far we've come.
So we've got robots on factory floors and robots on the moon.
What's next?
What about robots that are, more intelligent?
The quest for artificial intelligence.
That really took off in the late 20th century.
And a key figure in that story.
Victor Scheinman.
The creator of the Stanford arm in 1969.
Now, this wasn't just another robotic arm.
No, this was a game changer.
It was electrically powered.
And computer controlled.
With 6 degrees of freedom, making it even more dexterous than the Unimate.
A major step forward.
The Stanford arm became a blueprint for the entire industrial robotics industry.
It really did.
Paving the way for robots that could handle even more complex and delicate tasks.
But it wasn't just about building better arms.
Right.
It was about making them smarter.
Exactly, and that's where Rodney Brooks comes in.
Rodney Brooks.
His work in the 1990s revolutionized AI and robotics.
He challenged the prevailing top-down approach to AI.
Which relied on pre-programming robots with complex rules for every possible situation.
It was a very rigid way of thinking.
And instead, he advocated for a bottom-up approach.
Inspired by nature's feedback loops.
So, instead of trying to program every possible scenario.
Right. Brooks wanted robots to learn and adapt through experience.
Just like humans and animals.
That's fascinating.
It's a radical shift in thinking.
And it led to the development of robots that were more flexible.
Adaptable.
And ultimately more intelligent.
That can interact with the world in a more meaningful way.
It's incredible how much his work has influenced the field.
It's laid the foundation for so much of what we see today.
So now we have robots that can not only follow instructions, but can actually react to unexpected situations and learn from their mistakes.
Exactly. That adaptability is key.
Okay, so now things are getting really interesting. Because now we're talking about humanoid robots.
Robots that look and move like us.
And one robot really stands out as a pioneer.
Honda's P2.
Unveiled in 1996.
The first humanoid robot capable of independent bipedal walking.
That was a huge achievement.
It was.
Honda's research into human locomotion was key to this breakthrough.
They paved the way for even more advanced humanoid robot.
Like their iconic Asimov robot.
Introduced in 2000, it's amazing how far they've come.
It really is.
But let's not forget about another groundbreaking development happening around the same time.
In a completely different field.
Surgery.
Yes, the Vinci Surgical Robot.
Cleared by the FDA in the year 2000.
This system revolutionized minimally invasive surgery.
With its 4 arms, each controlled by a surgeon.
Capable of performing incredibly precise movements inside the human body.
It's amazing how robots can augment human capabilities in specialized fields like surgery.
It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity and collaboration.
So we've gone from clunky industrial arms to robots that can walk, run, and even perform surgery.
It's been an incredible journey so far.
But there's this one development that feels like it's really grabbed everyone's attention.
Self-driving cars.
Exactly, self-driving cars. It's like something straight out of science fiction.
But now it's becoming a reality.
And this Live Science article points to Google as a real pioneer in this area.
They were way ahead of the curve, launching their self-driving car project back in 2009.
I remember when they first announced it was 2010.
Right, but they had already been testing these cars for a while, quietly.
Yeah, they were driving those modified Toyota Priuses around, gathering tons of data, and they were pretty secretive about it all.
They wanted to make sure the technology was solid before going public.
It's a pretty smart approach.
Data-driven, focused on real-world testing.
And it paid off because in 2015,
They had that historic first
fully autonomous ride on a public road.
in a car they built themselves.
No steering wheel, no pedal.
Just a car driving itself. It was pretty mind-blowing.
It felt like a glimpse into the future.
And it wasn't just a publicity stunt.
No, it was a demonstration of what's possible.
And Google, or Waymo as they're called now.
They're not the only ones in this race.
Oh no, not at all.
Tesla's been pushing hard.
Uber, too.
And even traditional car manufacturers are getting in on the action.
It's become this incredibly competitive field.
Which makes sense. I mean, self-driving cars have the potential to completely change transportation,
Imagine reducing accidents caused by human error
making traffic flow more smoothly.
and giving people who can't drive themselves a whole new level of freedom.
The potential benefits are huge.
But there are also some big challenges.
Absolutely. Like, what happens when a self-driving car gets into an accident?
Who's responsible?
And how do we even program these cars to make ethical decisions in tough situations?
Where there might not be a clear right or wrong answer.
It's tricky.
It is, and that's why initiatives like the DARPA Robotics Challenge have been so important. The goal was to push the boundaries of what robots could do.
Especially in disaster response scenarios.
The challenges they set were really intense.
Robots had to navigate obstacle courses,
Climb ladders,
close valves.
even drive vehicles.
It looked like something out of a movie.
It was a real test of their capabilities.
And it showed how far humanoid robots have come.
Robots like Boston Dynamics Atlas.
They were incredible, performing tasks that would be dangerous for humans.
It was a real glimpse into the future of disaster response.
But it's not just about disaster response.
No, there's also this growing interest in robots that can work alongside humans in more everyday settings.
Like in warehouses or factories.
Exactly. And Agility Robotics is a great example. When they sold 2 of their Digit robots to Ford,
Gidget. That's an interesting name.
it's a bipedal robot.
So it walks on 2 legs.
It does, but its legs are designed more like a bird's,
Really?
which makes it really agile and stable.
Huh, so it's not exactly humanoid in the sense of having a human-like appearance.
Right, but it's about the size and shape of a small human,
And it's designed to work in those industrial environments.
lifting and carrying objects,
Navigating tight spaces.
basically acting as a robotic helper for human workers.
So it's like taking over those repetitive, physically demanding tasks.
It's exactly. Freeing up human workers for more specialized roles.
It's a great example of how robots can collaborate with humans. And it sounds like Digit is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah, there are lots of other companies developing humanoid robots.
Tesla's been making a lot of noise about their Optimus robot. It's like a whole new industry is emerging.
And the cost of these robots is coming down rapidly,
Really? So it seems like humanoid robots are about to become much more accessible.
which raises all sorts of interesting questions.
Like, will we start seeing them everywhere?
It's a future that's not so far off.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all, like robots everywhere.
That's a lot to take in, for sure.
From those ancient myths about artificial beings to robots that can drive cars and perform surgery, it's incredible how far robotics has come.
It really speaks to human ingenuity, our drive to keep pushing the limits of what's possible.
And this Live Science article does such a great job of tracing that evolution.
Yeah, from simple mechanical marvels to machines that can learn and adapt, even interact with the world in ways that, almost seem intelligent.
It's mind-blowing and kind of scary at the same time.
It does make you think about the future.
What's interesting to me is how robotics has become so intertwined with so many different fields.
It's not just about factories and labs anymore.
It's manufacturing, space exploration, medicine, transportation, you name it.
It seems like there's no area of human life that robots won't touch in some way.
And that's why it's so important to consider the bigger picture.
The ethical implications, the potential impact on jobs and society,
We need to make sure these advancements are actually benefiting humanity.
and not just for the sake of technological progress.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question. What do you think the next big milestone in robotics will be?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And how will it shape our world? Will it be a breakthrough in artificial intelligence?
Maybe a new form of human-robot collaboration.
Or something we haven't even thought of yet?
It's hard to predict with any certainty.
But what are your thoughts? What does the future hold for robotics?
Well, it feels like we're at a tipping point. Like robots are about to become even more integrated into our lives.
in ways we can't even imagine.
Exactly. Maybe robots that can understand and respond to our emotions.
Or robots that can perform tasks beyond human capability.
Robots that can explore the deepest oceans or the farthest reaches of space.
Or maybe even robots that can help us tackle some of the world's biggest problems.
Like climate change or disease.
It's both exciting and a little daunting to think about all the possibilities.
It is. But one thing's for sure, robotics will continue to captivate us and shape our world in profound ways.
And as we move forward, we need to remember the lessons we've learned
To make sure these technologies are developed and used responsibly.
for the benefit of all humankind.
Well said.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the history of robotics with you.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring and keep asking those tough questions.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery.